Ready?
Sunday Kisetzi Tavshin Einches. Brucham Habam B'Shem Hashem Ign Sheter. I'd like to welcome back the entire Choshev Olam to the Shir of Rabbi Yakov Zev Smith Shlita on the important topic of Dinim Of Birkas Hagomel. Today's Shir is Nidvas Ramoshe Klein, Elinishmas Oviv Rabbi Yisrael B'Ramoshe Menachem. And now Rabbi Smith Shlita.
First of all, Shalom Aleichem. It's good to be back. It makes it easier to come back knowing we have to look forward to this wonderful Maimed of Kavod Shemayim. Recently we had a number of questions regarding the Chiyuv, the Bracha of Goimel. I mean, our yeshiva had that explosion in Monroe where our Bachim were stuck in this fire in the bungalow, and the people asked about Goimel. We had an interesting shayla. Someone was on the way to his Bar Mitzvah Suda, and he was then a cotton, and he got into a terrible accident. Baruch Hashem, he came out basically untouched. And the question was, the minig seems to be that a cotton doesn't bench goimel, but maybe that night, the next day, when he gets his aliyah, he could bench goimel. In other words, he was in an accident out a cotton, and now he's a gadol as he bench goimel. Then we had a question, someone was very sick, and he's making a big sudas haidah, and he had an idea to make the goimel by the sudas haidah. First of all, you're allowed to do it at night. Number two, is it dinner by the Sefer Torah, Aliyah? And a really fascinating question someone asked. He was very, very disturbed. His wife was very sick. She got better. So he asked the Rav what to do. So the Rav says, let her be in the Ezras Nashim and say the Goimel in front of 10 men who are downstairs, and they'll answer Misha Gmolcha. And he told me he was ready to retire that Rav. What kind of a modern Anaya reform type of thing? So the question is for women, for ketanim, and basically in the past we discussed about flying if it's chayiv goimel and which accidents, which sicknesses are chayiv in goimel. Today we're going to talk about what we call the do's and don'ts. And as our derech always is, to find one yesod, and with that get enough information to go through the host of questions. I think what we have to really understand is that although goimel is one of the Birkas Haidah, you look in Shulchan Aruch, Siman Reish Yotes, is Hilchas Goimel, then you have Shechianu, Atayv HaMeitiv. So it's one category of Birchais Haidah. But as we'll see, there's something very unique to Goimel that really is the yesod of all of Hilchas Goimel. Now let me explain. The source of Goimel is Brachis, Daf Nun Daled Amud Beis, Arbat Tzrichen Lahaidos. The four categories. Someone went into the ocean, he traveled, went into the Midbar, he was sick, and he was in jail. And this is based on the capital Tehillim Kuf Zayin that speaks about all these four type of Chiyuvei Goimel. Then the Gemara adds, Ma'im Mevarach, what's the bracha? Rav Yehuda, Baruch Goimel Chasodim Toivim. Very short bracha. Baruch Goimel Chasodim Toivim. Now, Goimel Chasodim Toivim sounds like what we say in the morning at the end of Birkas HaShachar. We'll get back to that. Then the Gemara says you should say it in front of 10 people, and 2 Talmidei Chachamim. We'll soon get back to that. And then the Gemara tells an interesting story. Yehuda was sick, and Rav Chana and others came to visit him, and the visitors took the initiative of saying, Brich Rachmana Dihavene Alon V'Layihavech La'arf Afra. In other words, we're happy you're still alive, you're still here, you're not, underground. Amalahu Patrasan Yasim La'iduyeh. Wow. You were Maitziri in Goimel, I'm Yaitze Goimel. So, saying Dihaveli Afra, you're Yaitze Goimel. Okay. This is basically the sugya in brachis about Goimel. Now, first of all, we should notice the word Arba Tzrichen Lahaidos. It seems that it's a chiyuv to bench Goimel. Now, let me explain. That's a big chiddush. Because the Ramah in Reish Chav Gimel Aleph says that people are makel today in Shechianu because it's only Rishus. Especially Chassidim don't make a bracha when a boy is born or a girl is born. So Shechianu we're makel not to make. But regarding Goimel, it seems Tzrichen Lahai, this is a Chiyav Goimel. And don't forget, if it's based on a capital in Tehillim, it might even be Divrei Kabbalah, which is more than a regular D'Rabbanan. Now, the emphasis, the Magen Avram, in the beginning of Reish Yotes, wonders why women don't make Gomel. Maybe because that we consider Gomel a Rishus, and therefore it's not so important. Frag the Pri Megadim, who told them, Magen Avram, that Gomel is a Rishus? Arba'at Tzrich, I guess they mean say Arba'at Tzrich and Lahaydais, and based on a pasuk, doesn't seem to be Rishus. And the Chasam Sofer in the Tshuva Siman Nun Aleph seems to say that Gomel is a Chiyuv. Rav Vozna in Chelik Aleph Siman Reish Hey in the Orans and Reish Yotes shows us the Machlokes Rishonim in Menachos if it's indeed a Chiyuv or Rishus. But let's suffice to say, I read the Lashon of the Birkas Habayis in the end of Shar Chav Zayin, Rabbi Makilim bebracha zu ve'enei nachayim. Kivan dehu midin hashas v'nilmad mikra bevadei ein lahakil v'chayiv levarech b'makom she'amru levarech. In other words, you have to take this Gomel bracha very seriously, because indeed it's a very important bracha. The question, of course, is why taka is it so important? And man nishtana, why is it different than shechiyanu and atoiv hametiv? So I think, and this is the yesod that I think is really the one yesod that we need for this sugya. If you look at the Gemara, the nusach is very short. Baruch Gomel Chasadim Tovim. And that's the sheet of some Rishonim. However, the three Gedolei Rishonim, Asher Mipiyim Anu Chayim, the Rosh, Rif, and Rambam, have a different girsa in the nusach. And that is, Hagomel lechayavim toivos shegmalani kol toiv. And the Goyin on the Gemara points out that's the correct nusach in the Gemara. What does it mean? Hagomel lechayavim toivos shegmalani kol toiv. Hagomel chasadim toiv. I understand. It means you did good to us. What does it mean chayavim toivim? Toivos zok the beis Yosef. Chayavim is a lashon rasha. He brings a raya from a Targum in Bereshis. Even though I'm a Rasha, im kol ze Gomel lehem toivos, v'gam ani ke'echad mehem, she'afa bi she'eni hagon, gomelani kol toiv. Now, I should mention the Shar Ephraim in Dal Lamed Beis even adds more to this nusach. Not that it's the nusach, but it's the pshat in the bracha. The Baruch is marach apoy, and cleanse my averes through Yisurim, and I'm zoicha to be alive. So we look at this, and it's very strange. Haidah is usually a time of simcha. Many people make a sudas haidah after they recover from a sickness or overcome an accident. Why are we saying very depressing things? I'm a Rasha, I don't deserve it. In fact, the Ramshik in the Tshuva and Siman Chav Zayin asks, the Mishnah Avos Altir Rasha b'fnei atzmacham. Why are you making yourself a Rasha? In fact, I saw Dava Nifla, the Ian Yaakov, it's on the Ian Yaakov, he says that, it comes out a funny thing, that it's a Genai to say Gomel. You're saying you're a Rasha. And he says that's the pshat in the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda was sick and he recovered, and his Talmidim didn't want him to say Gomel because it's a Genai for him to say that he's a Chayiv. So they said a Gomel in his place. So you learn this, and it seems like you're guilt-tripping a person. It's supposed to be the height of a simcha, and you're telling him to say, I'm a Rasha, I don't deserve it. The Ramshik, in a later Tshuva, Siman Peiches, he says it's a time of simcha. Hoides lahala. Why are you telling him to say that he's a chayiv? Now, bishloim the nusach hagomel chasodim toivim, I understand. But what's this chayavim? But Rabbi says, I think this is the uniqueness of Gomel. Gomel is a haidah, but much more. Because Rabbi Yid, why were you sick? Why was your life in danger? The basic amuna is even a stub of a finger is all preordained. That's part of the Hashgacha Pratis. Even Eina Noikivet's boy Milamata until that's part of Hashgacha Pratis. The Gemara says even taking out the wrong coin is considered Yisurim. Because nothing just happened. The word accident doesn't really play a role in a Maimon's life. Ein Yisurim b'loi chet, ein Misa b'loi chet, and Klum Ovid Kutchabrichu Dina b'loi Dina. I mean, the basic amuna is if something happens, there's a reason for it. And befrat, if you experienced a nes, what does the Gemara say? If a nes happens to someone, menakeloim b'schuyosav. So Rabbi Yid, this is a wake-up call. Something is wrong. So if you look in the Maram Shik, he says this Bekitza, Yisurim moidiyim shehu ish chayte, va'afilu hachi gomal Hashem chazdoi. Goimel is when we respond to the Rebbeinu Shalom's message. Rabbi Yid, something happened. Realize that there's a message. The Rebbeinu Shalom sent us this sickness or this accident for a reason. And we respond, Rebbeinu Shalom, I received your message. Hagoimel lechayovim toivos shegmalani kol toiv. And if I could add, here this person did something wrong and he deserved a punishment. Instead, the Rebbeinu Shalom gave him a refuah shalema, because you don't bench goimel until a person is back to normal. Hagoimel lechayovim toivos shegmalani kol toiv. From a chayiv to kol toiv. And this is the yisoid of goimel. It's of course a haidah, but it's also like haidah, like moida b'knas. A moida that there's something wrong, and Rebbeinu Shalom, I will pay attention. You look in the Aruch HaShulchan and Reish Yutes Dalid, nice and toy the prat of Hashem Yisbarach al dav hazeh, umatztik alav hadin ba'bracha, sheyisurim shegiu loi, hu mebnei chatoyav, v'atzolosei hu gmulas toivim Hashem Yisbarach. So now it seems that the Goimel has two parts to it. Not only is it a message that there's something wrong, but I acknowledge it and I appreciate it that now I have kol toiv. So it's not guilt-tripping a person, it's bringing out the best of a person. There's something wrong and I'm going to act accordingly. You know, I saw both the Prisha in our Simon and the Ein Yaakov on our Gemara and the Ein Yaakov ask a big question. How could you say the bracha is Hagoimel lechayovim toivish gmalani kol toiv? Doesn't the Gemara say Ha'oim HaKadosh Baruch Hu vatrin yevatrim ha'ohi? You know, I say the Baruch Shalom just gave me chesed for no reason. So how could you acknowledge Hagoimel lechayovim toivos? So I was thinking maybe the Pshat Lefit V'reinu is beautiful. The Rebbeinu Shalom gave us a chesed because he believes in us. It's a vote of confidence. Something was wrong. I'm going to give you a wake-up call, and you're going to respond. You're going to live yizboinenu chazdei Hashem. So there's not a vitur, nothing, for free. The Baruch Hashem sends you a message, you receive the message, and you're going to act accordingly. So Rabbi say, now we have a better understanding of Goimel. It's a haidah, it's shevach vaidah, plus it's moida that there's something wrong, and I'm going to live accordingly. Now let's learn, as much as time allows us, the Hilchas Goimel, and you'll see how it all fits with this Yesod. First and foremost, we should all be gesund, but if a person does have to make a Goimel, not to ramble, mumble, jumble the words. You know, it's a problem because we're not used to saying the words. And also it's berabim, so people sometimes say it very quickly, but it's not a good idea. It's a very precious bracha. Take out a siddur if you don't know about it, and say the words slowly. You know, the Shechiyanu and a Teiva Meit, if you say it in the privacy of your home. But here you're getting up in front of an oilam, but say the words slowly and with meaning, because they have a lot of meaning. I should mention, Hagoimel Lichayovim, you should pause between Goimel Lichayovim, just like Tosfos says, and Shulchan Aruch quotes it, between Lechem Min, you're supposed to pause, because the Mem slides one into the other. Here also, Goimel Lichayovim. Also, what's unique to Goimel, which is a Beferishi Gemara, Goimel should have 10 people. But not just 10 people present. Says the Ben Ish Chai in Ekev Beis, the Kafachayim Sifkat and Chavav, and the Barichas, a nice tshuva, B'tziel HaChochma, Heikuf Lamedaled Daled. It's not enough that you have 10, a minion there. 10 people have to hear the Goimel. So when you say it, you have to say it loud enough that the minion should actually hear it and they should respond. There's a big discussion in Rishonim, based on the Gemara, if 10 people is ma'akiv. In other words, the Gemara says you should have a minion. But the Gemara goes back and forth. The Mechaber in Reish Yutes Gimel has 2 days if minion is ma'akiv. And according to many Rishonim, you can say a bracha of Goimel b'yachidus, which obviously is very different than any other Birkas Haidah that you say at home. Now you'll ask me, why do you have to have a minion punkt by Goimel as opposed to all other Birkas Haidah? Maybe like we explained, it's more than just Shevach Vaidah. it's a statement, it's an acknowledgement. Maybe you want to make a big matzav out of it. Maybe the two Rabbanim will guide you to make plans for the future. But whatever the point is, Goimel is definitely more than a regular Birkas Haidah. What I found amazing, and I think this is the Pashat of Pshat, the Yafal Alev, one of the Gedolei Svadisha Poiskim on our Simon, he mentions a pasuk in Eoiv. Eoiv Lamed Gimel Chav Zayin, Yashir ala Noshim, V'yoyim Echatasi, V'yashir Havisi, V'loy Shavali. Which sounds like a person is saying Vidui. Zokt Rashi, you should get a minyan of 10 people when a person recovers from his illness. V'yisvada l'yoitzroi. So the Yafal Alev compares the pasuk in Iyoi that talks about Vidui to the mitzvah of Goimel getting 10 people. Now until today we would wonder, like the boys say, Shaykhis? Talking about Goimel? What does Vidui have to do with Goimel? But Lefid Vareinu, it's beautiful. Because besides the Haidah of Goimel, it's Mamash Vidui. HaGoimel L'chayovim Toives. The Beis Yosef teaches it means Russia. So there's definitely an element of Vidui even in the Birkas Goimel. And I'll tell you something even more. You see how every word of halacha is oiske cheshbon. The Rambam in Hilchos Brachos Perek Yud Halacha Ches says the person's oimid beineim umevarech. When you make Goimel, you're supposed to stand up and say the Goimel. The Kesef Mishnah Tzarachin Minolai. Where did the Rambam get this from? And Taki, you look in Shulchan Aruch, there's no mention of standing for Goimel. But the Magen Avram and the Mishnah Berurah quote this la'alacha. The question is, Taka, the Kesef Mishnah is right. Where do you get the chiyuv to stand for Goimel? So the Bach says it's based on the pasuk. Uva Moshev Zekenim Yahalaluhu. The people sit, the 10 people sit, but you stand. Okay. The El Yerabba on our Simon says a beautiful pshat. Since Goimel is a form of Hallel, we know by Hallel you have to stand. It's a come out of pasuk. So therefore, if you have to stand by Hallel, you stand by Goimel. No, it's very gishmak. Because Lamaisa Goimel is a form of Hallel. Instead of being La'afra, I have Kol Toiv. But what to me was beautiful, Rabbi Yankiv Kamenetsky and Emes Yaakov and our Simon, he says another reason to stand by Goimel. Since Goimel is a form of Vidui, and we all know to Vidui you have to stand. Now again, till today it would be strange. Vidui and Goimel, but it's true. Because Goimel has both features. It's a Hallel and it's a Vidui. Lamaisa, the minig is to stand, and the tzibur is allowed to sit, because that's part of the way the pasuk describes. I saw both the Me'il Tzedakah, Heilig Seif on Tzedakah, and the Chayodim, the end of Klal Samachtes, says that the minig is after Goimel to give Tzedakah, which I think makes a lot of sense. Since a person came close to Rachmana Litzlan, so Tzedakah Tatzel Mimavis. We had a child this summer, Bacha, and our camp fell over 30 feet when he was hiking. He fell into a hole. He was laying there for hours. It's mamish, a nes, I would almost say a nes niggle, he's still alive. So he's obviously at the Haibun Abacha. He benched Goimel, of course. But he came over to me after, he says, is that it? I just benched Goimel and back to normal. What should he be thinking after he mamish this near, mamish, he was in Sakona Niflo. So I told him, and I think maybe he's another part of Goimel. The tour in the beginning of Reish Yutes says that there's 4 people benching Goimel. V'simonech v'choyla chayim yoidu chasela. Chayim is Vashatevis Chavush, she's in jail, Yam, Yisurim, and Midbar. And the Shulchan Aruch makes a point of quoting this simon. 4 people bench Goimel, v'simonech v'choyla chayim. Now, the question that the Bach already asks is, since when do we find in Shulchan Aruch simonim? It's a nice Seyed Vatar by the Shabbos table, a simon, but in Shulchan Aruch should say a simon. So the emphasis on the Torah is not a bikasha. The Torah is also the Balaturim, who's famous for his simonim. But why did the Shulchan Aruch quote it? So the Bach says a Mardik Pshat. Just like you bench Goimel at the end of your trip in the ocean, when you get out of Sakana, and when a person gets out of jail, same thing when it comes to a machla, don't bench Goimel until you've finished, you're totally out of it. So there's a halacha meaning to it. But I was thinking maybe, and I think this is maybe a little bit b'derech drush, but I think the aside is vadei emes. A person understands that he was very close to Rahman al-Itzlan, and he's acknowledging it now by the bracha Hagomel chayavim toivos. If the Rebbe Shalom gave you a nes, if you survived, that's also a vote of confidence. You still have what to accomplish. Obviously, you have a life ahead of you. The Rebbe Shalom cherishes your life. It's not enough to get back business as usual. Now, I know a Yid, Zayin Gesund, he's probably in his mid-80s by now. He devoted his entire life to Habotzas Torah. And he told me once why. Because when the Second World War broke out, he was a baby. And it was a pella how he survived, because 1 million other children were killed during the war. And when he got a little older, he became a bacha, he had a little seichel, he realized, why am I alive? 1 million people like me were killed during the war. A baby should survive the war. So he felt he has a mission, and Ad Hayom he's living with that sense of mission. Maybe the pshat is, Goimel is a bracha, but it's the beginning. The simonech, that's a message, v'choil hachayim yoiducha selam. It's not just mention Goimel, you potter, back to normal. Your whole life has to be a Goimel. Ashira Lashem b'chayai. Not just saying words. My life is a Goimel. So I was told him, which I think is important, when someone comes too close to a Misa Rahman al-Itzlan, it's a wake-up call that Rabbi Yid, the Bershtam, kept you alive. You have something to do. Use your life. This also explains a big sugya, which we spoke about in the past, but just to mention it now, people have all sorts of shaylas. Again, when our yeshiva had that explosion in Monroe, there were a lot of bachim that should have been in that bungalow, but they just went out, they just stepped out to get something, or someone asked me, he was supposed to be in that bungalow and he changed bungalows with someone else right before. In other words, had he been there, he would be in Sakana. But he wasn't there. Let's refresh our memory. September 11th, many people were supposed to be in the tower, they weren't. So, Rav Moshe Netshuva and the Shlem Bezalman Alicha Shleima and beginning of Perek Chav Gimel say the klal is what he could have been, he should have been. There's no goimel. If a person was in an accident, he was in a fire, you bench goimel. There could have been an accident, there's no goimel. What's the pshat? Avada, that's Chesed Hashem. That's what we say, Nisech Hashem Chol Yoim, that's what we say, Psuka Dezirma, that's what we say, Nishmas on Shabbos. Goimel is when a person was in an accident and he survived. It's not what could have been, what should have been. If there was an accident, you bench Goimel. Someone says, had I been there, I would have been in trouble. Good, but the Lamaisi weren't there, so you should walk around feeling Simchas Achayim. But the Goimel is the fact that he was actually, there was a contact or Moshe, in fact, so was asked by someone, he lost control of the car, his car spun around, he went into ongoing traffic, and somehow didn't get hit by another car. So Moshe says, if there was no contact, there's no Goimel. So this is basically the same Yesod. If someone was near death, there's a Chayiv Goimel. Someone could have been near death, that's not enough to Chayiv Goimel. Part 2, which is really fascinating, is who benches Goimel. For example, a child under Bar Mitzvah, a woman. So in Svara, the answer to both is Zil Basa Taima. If an Isha, if a cotton was in an accident, or they were in a terrible machla, why shouldn't they bench Goimel? There are different men or women. Cotton, also. Okay, maybe he's not chayiv like a godler, but there's a chayiv chinuch. And the emphasis, you don't find in Shulchan Aruch or earlier Paiskim any difference between a gadol and a cotton. The earliest tshuva, to my knowledge, is a tshuva Maram Mintz, who was a Talmud of Trumas Hadeshem, so it's Kamat, the earliest Achrayim. In Siman Yud Daled, he was asked our question. It's interesting, he said, there was a cotton who was sick, and they gave him maftir, because in the olden days they gave Tanim Elias, maftir, Akopanim, not Elias, they say maftir. Does he also bench Goimel? Says the Maram Mintz, no. Why? Because since he's a cotton, he can't say the word Hagoimel l'chayovim toivos, because he's not a bar chiyuva. And therefore, if he can't say the bracha properly, there's no Goimel for a cotton. Azoizok Maram Mintz. Then he says, but let him say Goimel, because maybe he's suffering because of a previous Gilgul. And he quotes a pasuk in Eiv that sometimes you come back for a second or third time. I know it's a little airy, but Lamaisa, this is reality. Many people say the Rebbeinu Shalom before the Krishma Lamita, Bein B'Gilgul Zeh, Bein B'Gilgul Acha. So there's a reality of Gilgulim. Zokt the Marmintz, maybe he'll say Memonashach. Because Taka, he's not suffering his own chet. But maybe it was because of a previous Gilgul. And also, maybe it's because of the chet of his father. Because we find in the Gemara a few places that a child is punished because of the chet of their father. So let him say, either it's a previous Gilgul, or he's chayiv because of his father's chet. Zakti Marmin, so 1 second, let's do better. Let the father say the goimel. Zakt Marmin, that's not true. Because maybe it's the son's own Gilgul, previous Gilgul. It's a suffix, you don't say goim me suffix. But Zakt Marmin, the son could say memanashach. Zakt Marmin, I have a better idea. Just skip the word chayavim. Let the cotton say it and skip the word chayavim. No, that you can't do. Because since that's part of the nusach of the bracha, you don't do. So therefore you can't skip a word. I let him say chayavim and refer to the father memanashach. Zakt Marmin, it's a very pashta cheshbon. It would be very embarrassing to the father if the son gets up. Chayavim is going on the father. He brings a raya, the Gemara in Kedushin Daf Lamed Beis, Amar Aleph says, even if the father is doing an Aveira, you can't say, Tata, you're doing something wrong. You have to say, doesn't it say in the Pasuk something? So, Kolshkein to get up a rabbin and announce Hagoyim L'chayavim going on the father is not a good idea. So you can't skip the word, you can't say the word. Therefore, says the Meramins, Mistavrali Hanar Lo Yevorech Hai Bracha. That's it, you don't say the bracha. And the Magen Avram and the Mishnah Berurah and many Paiskim quote this Marmins that a cotton doesn't bench goimel, period. I should mention the Magen Avram Mishnah Berurah write a lashon cotton ain't sarach levarech, which sound like maybe if he wants he could, but Marmins' lashon is lo yevarech, not to make the bracha. Now here we see the importance of the word chayavim, that it's mamish, a reason that a cotton cannot make the goimel. The chiddush, the pliya is, how could chayavim be ma'akev? In the Gemara it's not even mentioned. Gemara's lashon is chasadim. You'll say, but the nusach of the Rif, Rosh, and Rambam is to say chayavim. But we also learned the story that when the Talmidim said, we're happy you're alive, and the Marshtam didn't put you in the offer, you yaitza. So you see that the word chayavim is not ma'akev. And indeed, the Naziris Shimshon that's printed in the back of the Friedman Shulchan Aruch and the Sharatzi and Sif Cotton Hay asked this on Marmins. Chayavim is not ma'akev, but you yaitz without it. So how could it be a cotton doesn't say it? So I saw a beautiful shot in the Avnei Nezer in Siman Lamed Tes, and he says that chinuch is all about when the child is of age to do the mitzvah properly. If a child can never say the word chayavim, then he's not a bar chinuch. It's not ma'akev. So he brings a beautiful raya. The Mishnah says, when is a cotton chayiv in lulav? Cotton hayodei l'nanei. He knows how to make nanuyim. So the obvious kasha that all Mefarshim ask, nanum is not ma'akev. Once you pick it up, you yaitza. The teretz is, to be mechayiv in chinuch, you have to do the mitzvah properly. Even what's not ma'akev. If you can't do it properly, so you're not of age. Zok the Avnei Nezer, if you can't say the word chayavim, then the bracha is not talking to you, even if it's not ma'akev. But be that as it may, I saw the Magen Avram, Mishnah Berurah, the Aruch HaShulchan, the Kaf HaChaim, and most Paiskim say that a cotton does not make goimel, period. Now there is a tshuva, the Mari Basan in Lachmei Toida, who says a cotton does bench goimel. The nusach of the bracha chayavim doesn't apply. He says, so what? Once that's the typhus of the bracha, we say it even if it doesn't apply. And one of his rayas is, Havdalah Maitzoi Yomtiv, we say, Hamavdil, and Ben Yom HaShvi L'Sheish T'mei HaMasa. Matzoi Yomtiv is not Matzoi Shabbos. The teretz is, you say the nusach, you don't change. And he has another pshat. Hagomel lechayovim toivos does not mean am chayiv. It means the Rebbeinu Shalom is good even to chayovim, kol shkein, to people like me that are not chayiv. So that's the shita of the Mari Basan and the more Ktsir Bein Kivemdin on our Simon, the Birkas Yosef, say this could be the minig, but as I told you, the Shar Ephraim, the other Paiskim, say the minig is a cotton does not bench goimel, period. In fact, the Tzitz Eliezer Yud Ches Chavei says even if the cotton is le'aleinu yosam, and by saying chayavim, the father is not embarrassed, the father is no longer alive, it doesn't make a chiluk. The minig is a cotton does not bench goim. Now, of course, if a child was in an accident or was sick, it's a great idea, a chinuch, to be mechanech the child, that, this is something of a wake-up call, even though you're not chayiv, but the Baruch Shalom has a plan, and it seems that the Baruch Shalom wants you and kept you alive, to use this opportunity to give the child the proper chinuch, the proper guidance, but basically to make a bracha, the minig is not to. I saw a beautiful shayla. Let's say a child was in a terrible, terrible accident or something, mamish, a life and death situation. So he doesn't bench goimel. The next time he visits that place where he's in an accident, he has a shayla. Now already he's bar mitzvah. Does he make the bracha, baruch she'asli nes v'makam hazeh? Now that's really a different sugya. That's the Reish Yud Ches, where a person saw an open miracle, not just he recovered, an open miracle, he makes a special bracha she'asli nes v'makam hazeh. I'm talking about that it was a mamash anes. So Rav Wozner in Gimel Kuf Samach Gimel, and I saw the Yichut Hashani, and Rabbi Yashiv in his Shurim on Masech the Brachas all say avad that he could make. Because it's not totally in Chayavim. The bracha of Goimel is totally in Chayavim. Cotton doesn't say that. But this is totally a Nes. If he had a Nes, he makes the bracha. So we see Nes he could make, but not the bracha of Goimel. Now the next question, someone asked me right before the summer, a child was going to his bar mitzvah Suda, a very, very funny story, but Baruch Hashem had a happy ending. And mamash, it was a terrible accident, and the child walked out unscratched. The car was total. Somehow, mamash, the child survived, but he was fine. He went to the Suda. The next morning, he had a shayla. When he gets his aliyah, does he bench goimel? What's the shayla? When the accident happened, he was a cut. Now he's a gadol. But this l'chayr is pashut. Since the shas of the accident, he was a katan, and it's not shay chayavim, so what's the chiluk now? You're a gadol. The reason why a katan doesn't bench goyim was not because he doesn't know how to say the words, he's too young. It's because it's not shay chayavim. So how could you say, today I'm a gadol, I'll say the goyim. But the sibas achiyav, when he was a katan, and therefore he does not bench goyim. The only thing is, I saw Rabbi Shlomo Zalman, Alicha Shlomo Chav Gimel Vav writes, let's say the child was sick al tzekatan, and he didn't get better so quickly, and as a gadol he also was sick in a pekuach nefesh situation, and he recovered, then he could bench goyim, because then he has a matziv hamachayiv al gadol. The Prima Godim has an interesting question, maybe till today wouldn't bother us. Frag the Prima Godim, how about someone under 20 who said he benches goyim? Why not? Since under 20 is not a bar oinshin midinei shamayim, maybe he can't say chayavim, but the teres l'chayr is pashim. Enechanam midinei shamayim, he's not a bar oinshin, but midinei adam, 13 years old, he can get mises bezin. So who said you have to have midinei shamayim as well? As long as he's a bar chiyuva, that would be enough. Agav, I should mention, even a bar mitzvah boy, even if we don't know he has to say Cyrus, but for that we use Chazak de Rava, because the bracha of Goimel is only the Rabbanan, and Chazak de Rava is sufficient. I saw another Chiddush, which one thing leads to the other. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman and Mincha Shlomo Tanyana Samach Sif Cotton Yud says a Chiddush, but that's what he says, that if an adult underwent Mila, let's say whenever he was not from as a child, but kitzah, an adult that undergoes Mila, after Mila he should bench Goimel. Now, even though it's not a life and death threatening situation, but apparently the fact that he underwent Mila, it is a surgery and there is anesthesia, but this is what he says. He says, but if someone is undergoing Mila in adult life because he's a ger, he's becoming a ger, then he doesn't bench goimel. What's the difference? So he says, since the Mila was when he was still a guy, it's not Shay Chayav, and therefore you don't bench goimel. The next question is negated to approximately half of Klal Yisrael. Do women bench goimel? Lamashal, a woman was in an accident, or a woman flew to Eretz Yisrael, and many have the minhag that when you fly to Eretz Yisrael, you bench goimel. We're talking about a situation that a woman has a clear-cut chiyuv goimel. Do they say the brach? Let's talk about a happy occasion after childbirth. Don't forget, during childbirth is a chayla sheyesh bei sakani mechal Shabbos var. So after childbirth, does a woman bench goimel? So Pashtus will say, why not? Zil basatayma. She recovered. Everything l'chayra makes sense that there should be a chiyuv goimel. And indeed, the Magen Avraham in the beginning of our Siman 1 is why women don't bench goimel. L'chayra, it's not as man grama. After all, you say goimel whenever you want. Now, I did see the Har Tzvi and the Tshuva in Siman Kuf Yud Ches. He says, according to the Chasam Soifa, that as a havamina, that you don't say goimel at night, so maybe it's his man grama, but he says it's only a havamina. The Chasam Soifa says he himself, we'll soon see the Tshuva, but he himself would say goimel at night. So it's not a maskana. So it's not his man grama. Why don't they mention goimel? So Lamaisa, the halachas ketanas, I think that was the first one that Mama speaks about this beferish in Chelik Beis, Kuf Samach Aleph, was asked this child, do women bench goimel? And he says, since the Gemara recommends having a minyan b'shas goimel, efshe de isha loy mechayva, the kol kfuda bas melech penima. It would be a lack of tznius to a woman to stand up in front of 10 men and say a bracha. They have to respond nachtetzu. So we prefer tznius over goimel. Now this sounds a little strange, if there's an inyan to bench goimel, why do you give up such a chashuv mitzvah? But you probably remember we have other similar situations. The Chasam Soifa on Masechta Shabbos, the Chaf Aleph wonders, since today the minhag Yisrael is that we mention Leit Chanukah Lech Mahadrin Min Mahadrin, every child does it. Why don't women? Why don't girls light Ner Chanukah? So the Chasam Soifa, since Ner Chanukah is done Birshus HaRabim, it's lacking tznius to go and light Birshus HaRabim. I once saw that's why women don't make Kiddush Levana. Even though Kiddush Levana is Mekabel Panei Hashchina, and many women, even though they're potter from Shaifa and Lulav and Sukkah, do it, so Kiddush Levana, why shouldn't they do it? The answer is, it's not tznius. You go in the street to say the bracha. And there's no doubt about it, this is one of the reasons why we make a big Suda for a bar mitzvah, but not for a bas mitzvah. Even though in Svara there's no difference bar or bas mitzvah regarding the momentous occasion of a Giyah mitzvahs. But for a girl to be the center of an occasion is lacking in Kol Kvuda. So here have another, we could add that to our list of Kol Kvuda in Yonim, that we don't bench Goimel because it's lacking in Tznius. Now, Lamaisa, this of course is what the Poskim say, but the question is, so who asked you to march into the shul and bench Goimel? Let us stand upstairs or behind the mechitza in the back of the shul and bench goimel from there. No one sees. There'll be a voice from the distance. And let me tell you, that's not such a bad idea. The Rav Shulchan Aruch and say the Birkas Hanen and Yud Gimel, the Chidah and Birkei Yosef, the Yavitz in the Siddur, the Kaf HaChaim, and the Chiddush to me was the Shulchan HaTorah, the Kamarna. It was a Mamash Malach Aleikim, a Shtik Faya in Siv Dalid, says that that's the minig. That the Isha stands in the Ezras Nashim and calls out a goimel and the men respond. So this person that thought his Rav should be retired at a young age because he said this idea, it's not the Rav's idea, it's based on Poskim. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch records this minig. Because in other words, you can't ignore a chiyuv of goimel. And I must tell you that the minig in Yerushalayim, this I saw the Mincha Shloim in that tshuva and the Tzitz Eliezer Yotes Nun Gimel, both record the minig Yerushalayim is that when Isha is chayavas in goimel, she does just that. Not march into the shul, stands by the beam and says goimel. From upstairs, from behind the mechitza, she benches goimel and the men respond. However, although this is done ad hayom in Yerushalayim, and I saw one of my rebbeim, Zechayim Levracha, he lived in Eretz Yisrael, and every time he came with his wife to be in yeshiva for a few months. After the first shmooze he had in his house, he gave a shmooze in his house every Thursday night. His wife would come out and bench goimel, and the baruch would answer, because that's the minig Yerushalayim. However, In Chutz La'aretz, I'm not sure why Eretz Yisrael versus Chutz La'aretz, but in Chutz La'aretz this is not done. The Magen Avraham already wonders why not, and the Magen Avraham says his famous words, maybe it's only a reshus, and therefore they don't do it. The problem is the Prima Godim asks, what do you mean? It's a chiyuv. So the El Yerabba in Sif Cotton Yud Beis writes, very interesting thing, I don't think the men are going to like this, but he says that really the women don't have their own chatayim, it's only the chatayim of their husbands. So just like children don't say, because you can't say chayavim huadin, women don't say. So in other words, it's our fault once again. Everything is our fault. But Lamaisa, it's not me that asked this question, it's a Mishnah. The Mishnah says because of Gimel Chatoyim, women die b'shas Leida. And the emphasis, if Shlomo Zalman mentioned this in passing, the whole Tsar Leida is because of the Chet of Chava. So it's felt Nishtayis Chatoyim for women. The Prima Godim already asks on Sifkat and Gimel on this El Yerabba Tzarchi and the Yeshla Einshim. So Lamais, it's hard to say it's just because women have no chatoyim. The Aruch HaShulchan and Sifkat and Vav and Rav Moshe and Chelikei Yudalit also wonder what happened to Goimel for women. They both say maybe since we associate Goimel with Aliyah and women don't get Aliyah, so maybe that's why they stop. But both of them leave it as a tzarchi and that it's not done. It's taka not done. But the question is why not? So this is interesting. I can't explain it. The minig Mishalayim is to say Goimel. In America, it's not. Mishalayim are less tzniistic than us. I doubt it highly. I'm not sure why it is. But Shlomo Zalman in that same tshuva says that he thinks more of a reason to bench Goimel would be for a woman after childbirth. Because since they have a chiyuv really in times of the Beis HaMikdash to bring a carbon, so let the Goimel at least be Mamakim carbon. He says also, very often, the Yoledes, at least in those days, there was a bris in the house, or there's an occasion, and they have a minyan anyhow. So you have a minyan, and that's why the minyan Shalayim is a Yoledes, either by the bris, if she attends, or whenever she has a minyan in the house, she does, in fact, bench the regular Goimel. Lamaisa, what to me was Maval Harayan, I saw Fakir Tesvar. There's a Sefer Mata Levi, Chelik Bey, Simon Ches, and Har Tzvi and Simon Kufr Gimel mentions similarly. He says maybe Fakert, a Yoledes doesn't bench Goimel. Even if a woman in an accident does, but not a Yoledes. Why not? Because why was she in this terrible sakana? Because she was doing a mitzvah of Pruvu, having a child. She can't say Chayavim if she's doing this Chashav mitzvah, bringing another neshama into the world. Azai Zakte Mata Levi. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman in that tshuva and the Tzitz Eliezer in that tshuva strongly criticize this Yesod. He says it can't be. Because the Gemara says, Yardei Hayam, bench Goimel. They're going for Panasa, which is a mitzvah. Otherwise they can't go in danger. Also, Zaktab Shlomo Zalman, someone that undergoes Mila, unless he's a Geras Mila, benches Goimel. He's doing a mitzvah. Or Zaktab Shlomo Zalman, a Katan is never Chayiv. That's why there's no Goimel. But should a person say, I am beyond Chayiv, I'm not a Chayiv? Maybe Taka she's doing a mitzvah, very good, but she's still as a Chayiv. And Shlomo Zalman says, you can't say this Yesod. The reason is because it's lacking Tznius, and therefore Yoledes in the house could bench Goimel. So although it's a nice Einfal, but Lamaisa it's not true. Now, why I say this, because someone once asked the Shaila, he had all the Getzitkas, he donated a kidney to someone in need. After the surgery, does he bench Goimel? The answer is he got a wonderful mitzvah, but he does bench Goimel. Chayavim does not mean in this surgery you did something wrong. Chayavim means that, we all have an account up there. So it's not a stira, you did a mitzvah and the bench Goimel. I'll tell you something fascinating. Look it up and you'll enjoy it inside. The Chida in Machzik Brach on our Simon Reish Yotes records his father had a dream. And what does he dream about? Not about money, about Torah. He had a following Shaila. Yitzchak, when he was on the Akedah, was in a pretty dangerous situation. After the Akedah, the Yitzchak bench Goimel. Va'oid, what's probably the most dangerous place on planet Earth? I would guess, Kodesh HaKadoshim. I mean, you walked in there just once a year, and if the Kohen Gadol Messiach das for a split second, he died. And that's why, when he came out of Kodesh HaKadoshim alive, they made a simcha. And for 200 years, the Gemara says, Kahanim Gedolim died because it was mamash. You can't Mesiach Das. So his father had a dream after the Kohen Gadol came out and B'simcha they made for him that he bench Goimel. So the dream turned into a nightmare when he woke up before he got the response. He didn't get an answer. So the Chidah has a chiddush that if you put yourself in a matziv of sakana willingly, there's no Goimel. Because it's not indicative of something wrong. You can't say chayavim if you did it yourself. So that's somewhat like this Yisai that we mentioned, but it's hard to say because, so he says, Yardei Ayam, you have to go because you have to make panasa. But Yitzchak or the Kohen Gadol had a bechir, they didn't have to go. So it needs a little of a hezbollah, but I think the minig Yisrael is even if you put yourself in a matziv, let's say this kidney transplant, that time you would have to bench goimel. So although it's a nice einfall, that would also stem with our Yisai. If you're in a sakana, you bench goimel. Again, the only reason you don't bench goimel is what could have, would have, should have. All that is, someone told me, Rabbi Talmud came to our big ones, he said he was driving the street, and the other side, the other direction, a big truck was carrying a slab of metal, and the slab dropped, and had he been on the other side, going the other way, he would have been killed. So our big said, so what's the child? I bench goimel, I could have been the other side. So our big says, did your wife wash your pants this morning? And you're wearing that now? Yeah. Do you bench goimel? Yeah. No. So had you been in your pants when your wife washed your pants, you would have to bench. So the true story. He's trying to tell us a message. What could have been and should have been and would have been is all part of nishmas and all part of halukas and psukkah de zimra, but that's not goimel. So when someone was in a mativ sakana, even if he put himself into it, there would be a goimel. Unless the person was suicidal, that they speak about. That's a different shaila. But you did a mitzvah, that's not a patur for goimel. Even if someone does not bench goimel, again, for us in America, in Chutz La'aretz, women do not bench goimel, there are alternatives that should be pursued. First of all, there's a famous quoted Toras Chaim, that's one of the earliest achronim on Shas, in Sanhedrin Daf Tzadik Daled, he says, what the minig is that after a person's wife had a baby, he goes to shul and he gets an aliyah, that's instead of goimel. Why? Because really the wife is mechoyev in goimel, but she doesn't do it. So therefore, for sumei milsa, the husband gets an aliyah, and the baruch hu is b'makayim the goimel, because it's really also a haidah. And therefore, he says, when the husband gets the aliyah and the baruch hu is b'makayim the goimel, and therefore he urges the husband who gets the aliyah, do it right and have kavana, that the bracha is haidal Hashem b'shvil ishtay. So here we see, and this the El Yerabah, the Prima Godim, quote this minig, that even if we don't bench goimel after childbirth, or any time a woman has a chiyuv goimel, it's preferable that the husband get an aliyah. Of course, he's not doich any other aliyah, but if he could get the aliyah, and he benches the brachas, and that's b'mekayim the goimel. The Chassam Sofer, the tshuva that I mentioned earlier in Nun Aleph, also says that really the aliyah that the husband gets is b'makayim goimel when goimel can't be said. So if you do have this minig, the more importantly is to do it right and have in mind that should be the goimel instead of the wife. There is a different minig that, especially women after childbirth, they go to shul and they hear a baruch hu, or the husband brings a minyan to the house, they daven ma'ariv, and they hear a baruch hu. This is probably also based on the Toras Chaim, but instead of the husband getting an aliyah, the wife answers baruch hu. So she actually said a quasi goimel in form of baruch hu. In other words, the husband getting aliyah is probably better, but at least something that she could participate in. Now, there's no chiyuv that the husband has to be the Baal Tefillah, but it's probably better. So he says baruch hu and she says baruch hu, and it's fine and voil. There's rather no chiyuv dafka Motzei Shabbos, that maybe it's more practical, but lemaisa it's done in many homes. There's another minig which I always wondered about, and now when I learned the sugya, I saw both B'tzeil HaChochm and Vav Ayin Ches, and his brother in there, Moshe Ches, Kufchav, both say that people confuse it a little bit. There's a different kipeda that the first time the Yoledes goes out of the house after childbirth, she should go for a Dvar Mitzvah. So therefore, people sort of did both in one. They go to shul to hear a baruch hu, so it's goimel, and also that's the first step out of the home. Now, why do I say this? I once had a shaila, an isha after childbirth had a sibling's chasana. And she Pasha couldn't go to shul for Baruch Hu, and it was time to go to the chuppah. She was all nervous. So Moshe Wolfgang told me that that's fine. The thing is, the minig is going out of the house, the first step to a Davar Shebekadusha, no going to a chuppah, is a Davar Shebekadusha, it's a mitzvah. Now, it's not a goyim, it's not a Baruch Hu, but at least you're going to a mitzvah. So there are two things that are really independent, but we sort of combine the two. You go to the shul for Ma'ariv, Baruch Hu, and the first step out of the house. Part 3 are the assorted questions. First and foremost, I think it's obvious that there is no mention of getting an aliyah when someone is chayiv to make a goymel. Let's say a person was in an accident. He has to bench goymel. There's no chayiv to get an aliyah. Now, many people are happy they finally got into an accident, they finally get an aliyah, but there's no chayiv and aliyah b'chlal. In fact, there's no connection between aliyah and goymel. Toisvis, an our sugya, says the following few words: Nahagu ha'olam levorich acha shekara b'toyra. Toisvis is saying that the goymel is said after laning, which means after the kaddish, after laning. That's what Toisvis says. A little more mafurish, the Orchos Chaim, the Rishon in Hilchos Shein v'Chamishi Ois Chaf Hey says that since after laning there's a minyan, say the goymel after laning, so you have a minyan. In other words, since the Gemara insists on having a minyan, so the convenient time to have a minyan is after laning. But midina Gemara, and according to the Rishonim, the Orchos Chaim and the Toisvis, there's no chiyuv getting an aliyah. And the proper time to say it, Rabbi Isai, is after laning. Why not during laning? Probably it's a hefsek. Become goymel middle of laning. So the proper time is after Kaddish. The goymel gets up there and says goymel. Azoi, that's the minig mitzad the Rishonim. Yet, as we said, the minig is, if there's aliyah available, the minig is to give the goymel an aliyah. This is based on the Toras Chaim and the Chasam Sofer, that there's a concept of getting aliyah as well. The Shar Ephraim and Beis Yud Aleph says that you give a goymel an aliyah if there's an aliyah available. No, he's not doicha any other chiyuv. He's the low. He's not a chiyuv. He's the bottom of the list of chiyuv. When to say the goymel? So again, the Shulchan Aruch and Siv Gimel quotes the Orchos Chaim. Nahagu levorich achar kriyas haTorah lefi sheyesh sam asara. It's a hechatim that you have a minyan. Now, Lamaisa, the minig is different. I'm not sure exactly why, but if you give someone an aliyah, he benches goymel after his aliyah. This probably came about since he's there anyhow, let him bench goymel. You can't say it's mamish a hefsik, because the Lamaisa, it belongs sometime in davening. So the minig has become, after you finish your aliyah, you bench goymel. The tricky question is, if someone is given shlishi during the week, or achrain on Shabbos, when should he say the goymel? So the Ahalach B'Amitecha, written by the B'Tzeil HaChochm in Chav Gimel Samachal, says, if you would ask me, wait till after Kaddish. There shouldn't be a hefsek between Kaddish and laning. But the minig is, right after the Aliyah, before the Kaddish, you say the goymel. And the truth is, the Butchacha in Eishel Avram says this also, that the minig is, right after the Aliyah, you bench goymel. But if you go to a shul and they give you an Aliyah, and tell you to bench goymel after Kaddish, that's really seems to be the correct minig. But again, minig Yisrael Torah, we do it after the Aliyah, but the real proper way would be after the Kaddish. Another interesting question is, the nusach seems to be a little strange. A person was in a terrible accident. He was in the hospital and he finally got better, and he's all better. Hagoymel chayavim toivos, shegmalani kol toiv. So Reb Shlomo Zalman, which is a bit uncharacteristic of him, he wonders, what is the bracha kol toiv? You know, you're happy that he's in an accident, he was bandaged and bruised, and he was in a cast. You know, you say, I'm happy, I'm alive. What's the kol toiv? So he says he would prefer the nusach that some have not to say kol toiv. Shigmanali, but not the word kol toiv. I saw the Rambam says toiv, not kol toiv. But minig Yisrael say kol toiv, and I think there's a very big stress to that. I went from chayavim to kol toiv. Now I'm perfect, because you only bench goymel when a person had a full recovery. So Lamaisa, the minig is we do say kol toiv, and that's probably the hezbollah. I saw a shaila in the Shevet Kasi Daled Ayim, which could be Negeya. Someone either traveled on business or for shidduch, he wants to keep it secret. Or he was sick and he wants to keep it low-key. He doesn't want to bench goymel by Aliyah. He doesn't want people to know that he was in a situation of goymel. So he taka says that Lamaisa, according to some, it's a bracha levatala. But since the Shulchan Aruch does mention Yesh Arm, you could say it b'yechidus, maybe you could say it b'yechidus. It's a big chiddush because you're talking about a suffix bracha of atol. Now, I would recommend take a minion of people that you don't know, that are never going to, don't care why you're benching Gomel, and say a Gomel in front of them. You don't have to do it by laning. You could do it in the privacy of a home, whatever it is. But to say a bracha of Gomel without a minion is at least a suffix bracha of atol. I should also mention, when someone has a suffix Gomel, what should he do? So, of course, the general klal is suffix brachas lahakol. Certainly, suffix Gomel lahakol, where we have a Magen Avram that says it's a reshus, even though we're not so excited about that, but lamaisa suffix brachas lahakol. But there are eitzes to sort of be yoitze anyhow. First of all, if possible, try to get an aliyah. Don't forget we have a Teras Chayim, that would be like a Gomel. Or at least say a Baruch Hu and have in mind what the Baruch Hu is supposed to mean for you as a suffix Chiyav Gomel. Best eight to find a person that's saying Gomel anyhow and tell him to be moitzi you, because you have to have Kavanas Mashmiya, and then you have another Gomel situation without a suffix brach. What I found amazing of Shlomo Zalman Alicha Shlomo Chav Gimel, Siv Ches says if you have a suffix Gomel, say the bracha in the morning, HaGomel Chasadim Toivim, and have in mind to be Yaitze Gomel. Wie kommt this? It's a Gemara. That's the Nusach according to some Rishonim. He says it would be best if you could say that in front of 10 people. So volunteer to say brachas in the morning for the tzibur. But he says don't grab a minion and say I have to say Gomel Chasadim Toivim because I have to say it, and you have to answer. Because you don't do something that's mashuna. They'll think he still needs a Yeshua, then you shouldn't be benching Gomel. So do it, Gomel Chasadim Toivim with a minion, but you shouldn't do something mashuna. And another interesting question that I think is a kedai to mention is what do you do at the end of Gomel? In other words, the person said the bracha of Gomel. What is our response? Our that we are the listeners. So you're probably wondering, what's the shayla? Who doesn't know? When he says the Gomel Chasadim Toivim, we say Mishik Malchak Toivim Malchak Toiv Sel. Grad, I saw the Kedusha Si and the original Baba Rebbe said that the Tzibah says Kol Tuv. Because if he says Kol Toiv, we have to add to the bracha. Tuv is a stronger bracha than Toiv. And I saw in the Baba Vasida, the Nusach is Kol Tuv. So that's where it's coming from. Some say, that most people say Toiv, we're adding to his bracha, we add the word Sela. So he says Toiv, we say Toiv Sela. So we know what to say, either Kol Tuv, Kol Toiv. But the question is, wait a second. We just say Misha Gemolcha. What happened to the Amen? He said a bracha, a bona fide bracha. Where's the Amen? Bishleime, when we hear a father saying Baruch Shep Tarani, we don't say Amen because there's no Shem Malchus. But this is a full-fledged bracha with Shem Malchus. Why don't we say Amen? And the Pel is in Siv Gimel, in Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says, when the Gomel says the bracha, the Tzibah says Misha Gemalcha, and that's their response. And there's no mention of the word Amen. So this is a Pella, and probably the answer is, what's the Chiddush? Earlier in Siman Reish Tezvav, a few simanim earlier, the Machabah says, based on the Gemara, when you hear a Yid saying a bracha, you're mechuyev to say Amen, so why is Gomel different? Machabah doesn't have to say everything that's pashit. How do you say Amen? The Chiddush you have to say Amen, and then Mikish Gemalcha Kol Toiv. This reminds me of something similar where there's a confusion, which is the Gemara, that by the bris, the Avia Ben makes the bracha lachnisa bevrisa shel Avram Avinu. What does the tzibur respond? Kishem shenichas the bris. Wait. First say Amen. He made a bracha gemura. It's the same concept. It's understood you say Amen. The chiddush you have to say more than Amen. That would be the pashtus. I saw, however, the Yisairis Tshuva in Siman Tzadik Tes, and the Shar Ephraim says it on his own. He says maybe in this context you don't need an Amen. Amen means you're machazek, you're ma'ames what he said. So if I say Shakli with Vara, you can't just listen and say nothing. You have to say Amen. But here that you're saying Misha Gemalcha Kol Toiv is more than Amen, maybe you don't need Amen. But they both say that's not logical. Because Misha Gemalcha is not a Gemara. It's a minig that we say, a very heilig minig, but it's a minig. Amen is a chiyuv midin Gemara and Shulchan Aruch. How do you ignore a chiyuv because of a minig? So probably the answer is you say Amen, it's understood. And once you're talking about two amains that we sometimes overlook, the amain by Gomel and the amain by the Bris, I'll tell you two more amains in the mitzvah lefarsim. There are two amains that somehow people just overlook. When the Chazan Friday night says, Poyer Sukkah Shalom, Al Yerushalayim. So everybody, especially the wannabe Chazanim, belt out Vishamru. But first you have to say Amen. Amen Shalai, and then Vishamru. Also, Hamachze Shchinasi L'tzion, you listen to what people say, Moedim Anachnu Lach. Wait, first goes Amen, and then Moedim Anachnu Lach. And this is not typical, but the Goyin said a remez. He says, every time a person says an Amen for Geula, we bring the Geula closer. A brach is one thing, an Amen is even bigger. He types the pasuk, Laman Tzion Loi Echshe, Ulaman Yushalayim Loi Eshkait. Don't be quiet to the Amen of Bnei Brach Yushalayim, and not to the Poyer Sukkah Shalom Aleinu. Those two brachas, don't be quiet to say Amen. So here we have four Amens. Let's make sure we have it properly. We'll be Zoech to the Geula. Akudan Tug to you all. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Ma'az Shinasi L'tzion. That's what I mean. Thank you. Okay.
Rabbi, se morgen bei Nacht du Aschir, also wie die ganze Simme gewesen. Montag, Dienstag, Mittwoch, mir zu Shem. Geht bald an der Sikam.
I left my notes. That's my lunch. I'm going to learn whatever. I left my notes in the okay.
Everyone is invited to listen to the Sikkim from today's share from Rabbi Zev Smith. Just take a few minutes.
Just to show something we learned today, Be'ez Hashem, the Goimel is based on a pasuk in Tehillim. Some give it the status of Divrei Kabbalah. And there are really two parts to the Goimel. There's Haidah, there's thanks, and there's also a Tziddik Hadin, there's Moida, that there's something wrong and I have to make a certain type of tikkunim. And the Goimel is basically, the Baruch sent us a message, in Yisurim B'Leichet, and Baruch Shalom, I got the message and I pledged, V'choy lachayim yedu chasela. And therefore, even though other Haidah, the Magen Avraham says some are makel not to say the Shechiyanu or the Teiva Meitiv, but this is a Chiv, should be treated like a Chiv. The Nusach is Hagoyim L'chayavim Toivais. Now I should have touched that. Chayav means someone that's guilty, and the Baruch gave us Toivais in spite of me being Chayiv, and not Stam Toivais, but Gemalani, Kol Toiv, I have everything good. Although a person did Averis, he got a full recovery. He went from a almost Chiyav Misa to a full recovery of living Kol Toiv. And it's Kedai to say it with Kavanah, of course, and get a minyan. L'chatchila, it should be by laning, with a minyan, by a Sefer Torah. You're supposed to stand by Goimel like we'd stand by Hallel, and some even compare it to Vidoy that you're supposed to stand. You're supposed to give tzedakah sometime because tzedakah tatzal mimavas. And as we said, to have a mind, my life now will be Ashir Hashem b'chayai. If someone almost was in an accident, almost would have been there, that's not a Goimel, and that's not, it's only if he was actually in the crash, or if he was in the fire, not he could have been in the fire. The deciding fact is there was some type of contact, there was some type of problem. The minig is a cotton, does not bench goimel. It's good to tell the child that he should think about what happened, but there's no goimel for a cotton. Even if now he's a gadol when he recovered, but if the chiyuv chalois chiyuv als cotton, he would not bench goimel. If he was sick as a gadol also, then he could bench goimel als the sickness as a gadol. The bracha of she'asli nes, a cotton could say, because nes has nothing to do with chayavim, but a cotton does not say chayavim, and therefore does not say goimel. The minig, certainly in Chutz La'aretz, that women do not bench goimel, because kol kvuda bas melech pnim, it's like they don't make them their Chanukah and Kiddush Levana, and like we said, bas mitzvah, but instead the husband either gets an aliyah, or the woman has baruch hu, and that's why the yaitza their chiyuv goimel. The midig in Shalayim and Svardim is that the woman says it from behind the mechitza, or in the privacy of her home with the minyan, and then she says a regular goimel. Even if a person does a mitzvah, he's donating a kidney and he undergoes a surgery, he benches goimel, even though this particular case, he's not chayiv, but lemaisa, a person by nature is chayiv, and the Baruch Shalom saved him. The minig is also a different minig. Yoledes, the first time she goes out, she should go for a dvar mitzvah, to hear a baruch hu, to hear a mitzvah, but that's nothing to do with goimel, that's a different inyan. There's no chiyav if someone has to bench goimel, there's no chiyav to get an aliyah. You could say it after Kaddish and Taka. If he's not getting an aliyah, he should say the goimel after Kaddish. Lamaisa, the minig has become, if there isn't an aliyah available, he should say the aliyah, and after he gets the aliyah, he should say the goimel. Even though it makes sense to say it after Kaddish, but the minig, his Yisrael is, after his aliyah, he says the goimel, and then they say Kaddish. If someone wants to keep it a secret, he doesn't want anybody to know that he was in a situation of goimel, let him get 10 strangers, but it's hard to make a brach without a minyan. Sufik goimel, don't make the goimel, better get an aliyah, say baruch hu, or some Mizalm said goimel chasadim toivim. Pashit, you're allowed to make goimel at night. I forgot to mention during the shir, the Chasam Sofer and Simon says I would make it at night also, but it's a davar t'mul l'rabim, so better do it in shul. But if someone feels he'll have a better haidah, if he does it by Yasudas haidah, he could make it at night and explain why he does it at night. And last but not least, after the goimel bracha, you first say amen, and then mishing malchal kotoiv, just like after a bris. And we said 2 other examples, and someone was kind enough to point out there's a 5th time that sometimes people do not say amen, and that's after Baruch Hashem Mechaya Ameis, and people are quick to say Nagdishach or Nekadesh. First say amen, and then say the Kedusha. And he said that's really, we say it in the Nachem, Al Kain Tzion B'mar Tivke. Tzion cries that you don't say a bracha, amen, to Amar Shashanasel Tzion. Yishalayim Titein Koila. Yishalayim cries, you don't say by the bracha Payra Sukkah Shalem Aleinu Kol Ma'isal Yishalayim. And Libi Al Chalaleihem is going on Mechayim Eisim, L'Chalaleihem, and there also people forget to say amen. I'm going to Bob, so you don't have to join me. Oh, yeah. Chayavim, Toivim. So this is based on the Gemara. First of all, there's so much to this. Chayavim doesn't deserve Toivim, right? And every person by nature is a chayiv, so we get tavis. But not stam shechayim. Right, you have an outstanding debt, right?
Right. So why the bank coffee? Why you give a bank coffee? They managed.
Because is a mitzvah teresh